So, hi, Alan. Thanks a lot for your time and making yourself available for this call and sharing your journey for your successful journey of passing the FE electrical and computer exam in the first attempt. So, congratulations on that. So, when
Thank
did
you.
you pass your exam, Alan?
It was last year in October. Yeah, October
Okay,
2020.
right. And when you took the exam, how many years out of school were you? When did you graduate?
Oh, yeah, that's easier to answer. It was so long, 2004. So yeah, it has
Wow.
been a while.
So, when you took the exam, you were basically out of school for 16 years. That's a
Yeah,
lot of time.
yeah.
And were you working full time?
Yes.
So what was your motivation? Like what motivated you to take this exam? Was it part of your job requirement for career
Uh,
progression or
yeah, it's not part of my work requirement. I think, for electrical engineers is perhaps less common, especially me that I'm not doing power. I want to get the PE eventually, but it won't be in power. So it's not required. And few of my colleagues, my peers even know about it. But I learned about that and I wanted to get some kind of certification that kind of validates my knowledge and also kind of proves to myself that I have that knowledge, that I am
right?
able to get it. So yeah, I want to get that validation that seems to be
That's great.
very solid. Yes.
Nice. Well, that's impressive. And with already working full time and in your case not seeing a direct link between the industry you work in electronics, right?
Yes.
Majority, I would say, based on my experience, more than 90% of my students, they happen to be in the power systems industry, directly or indirectly. You could be working for a utility, for resources, for heavy industry, for consultancy, but generally they are power systems engineers. So it's good to see someone with electronics background going for the PE. And you can look at the NCS website, the volume of engineers, number of engineers taking the PE electrical, they tend to be heavily PE power. So that's impressive. How did you manage your time, Alan?
Yeah. So it's tough with a full-time job and a 2 3 year old son. So yeah, I had
Nice.
to make the most of it. And in the beginning, when I first scheduled the exam, I did it like, I think it was like 8 months in advance, something like that. If it felt like a really long time, but it started to chip away, and then I suddenly, oh, I better start studying. I don't have that much time. So I could maybe study uh, late at night, maybe an hour. Depends on. I'm also, getting older and my 40s now, so I cannot do an
Yeah,
all nighter anymore. So I have to be very strategic
right.
about what to study and especially what were my weaknesses. So
Right.
then that was one of the things that I wanted to know where I'm the weakest, and then I could focus
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Studying strategically and efficiently is the key to success, right? My personal experience is that students who are already working full time, they tend to be much more disciplined with their time. Okay, because the demand on their time is so much, right? You have a little one at your home and responsibilities as a full-time employee, right? And other personal commitments, it gets tough. So I think when things get tough, the it sort of motivates you to become even more efficient, right? The saying is when the goings get tough, the tough get going. So
Yes.
that's good. Which exam prep you use?
So I use your books. They both them. I have them here.
Just mention like I assume study guide, right?
Yeah, the study guide and also the
Second
problems.
edition,
The one
or
that the
the practice
problems
exams
practice exams, and I also use your online resource
course,
course,
right?
which I thought it was very, very, very useful. Yes,
Okay, so how did
it helps me because I can start a lecture and I can see, okay, this I kind of if it's familiar, I can move on to the next one quickly. It allows me to have a quick look at the material, and just focus on what is most needed for me. And it's very convenient. The books are good, but the lectures, I can just be like listening and maybe even sometimes doing something else, and I'm like, okay, this kind of know, I
Right.
know, and then there is something like, oh, I haven't heard about this in a long time. And then I give it my full attention, and I do the exercises. So I can be very selective about it.
Right.
It allows you to choose the material easily and then focus on what you need.
Right. And then you combine that with the problem sets in the study guide and you did the practice exams then.
Exactly. So I do what I need. I find it from the lectures and the exercises online, and then I think, oh, this I need a little bit more work. Depends on if I am struggling, I get it wrong, and I think, oh, okay, I think I get it, but I need to practice more. So I go to the books, look for that kind of problems, that material that is related, and do it as
Right.
needed.
And do you think that the level of detail in the online course was good enough that for someone like you who's been out of school for 16 years, that it helped you bring back all of those concepts and maybe learn a few new concepts effectively?
Definitely, definitely. I really like your explanations, both in the lectures, before you do any of the exercises, but also the exercises are a very good level, and even the answers are also good. Sometimes you get the answer and you still don't understand that. You say, okay, that's right, but I don't know why. But with
Okay.
your material, the answers were added to the understanding
Yeah,
of
it's important to know, especially when you're preparing for the exam, it is important to know how you're getting the right answer. During the
yes.
exam, right, even if you get a right answer by just guessing, it's a fair game, right?
Yes, it doesn't
Well,
matter.
it doesn't matter as long as you're getting the right answer.
Yeah.
But while preparing for the exam, you need to know how you got the right answer. So it cannot be just by fluke, right?
Right.
Just by chance. On the exam, as many chances as you get right, that's a bonus, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And in terms of the pace of the lecture, did you think that I was able to find like a fine balance in terms of there are certain topics which I know students struggle with. For example, somebody who is not in software or computers, most of the engineers, students are actually power systems background, and this tends to be the case quite commonly that they find the computer networks, the digital systems, the software sections, computer systems more challenging. So I go in quite a bit of detail in a lot of depth. So
Yes.
what are your thoughts on that in terms of the speed where I sort of in some topics I might be skimming or really speeding through, and in the other ones I intentionally slow down. Did you think that it was easy to adapt to in terms of as a student and follow it?
I think yes, it was difficult because some of the subjects, like you said, you have to start from the background, assuming that people don't remember anything, right? So you have to
Right.
start from the basics, and it can take a long time. Like those networking thing you have, I'm trying to remember, but I think some of those you had a lot of like long lectures. There was a very
Yeah, I have
big,
20 lectures on computer networks, although it's only four
yes.
questions.
That's what I was gonna say. So it's hard to keep that balance because to get the understanding, you need all that background material, but then you cannot predict what is going to be actually needed in the exam. All the information is useful,
Right.
it's good to know, but it might not be like for me, like networks. I know I am familiar with that more than other subjects, so I didn't go through that entire material because I thought, oh, I I kind of know this. I better put my time on something else because this will be a big investment in time. It's a long lecture.
Right.
So I had to choose, pick and choose. If I had all the time in the world, I would have looked at everything
Right.
because I thought that would have been the best. But I had to pick and choose, and especially those longer lectures. Sometimes I decided
Yeah.
to not watch them because it was a strategic decision to put
Right. You
my
were
time
time
on something
constrained.
else. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And in terms of the practice exams, did you find the practice exams helpful?
Yes, yes, definitely. It will be more helpful if you simulate the exam conditions. If you do the exam and you sit for 3 hours, realistically, it can be difficult to find that time. And
Yes.
I wish I would have done it. That's the best way of using them. But no, in reality, what happened to me is I do a question and I don't quite understand it. And instead of like going forward and doing the rest, like if it was an exam, I tended to stop on that
Right.
question and then I go back to the lectures. I try to just understand that one question that was giving me trouble. I didn't do it like the real exam. Maybe that was a mistake.
No, but
Uh,
eventually you passed, right? So I think you made use of the practice exams in your own way in an efficient manner, and that helped you go past the finish line. In terms of how the HEFI exam has helped you, passing the HEFI exam, you obviously would have notified within your company where you work, and how has it helped you with your career so far, at least in the
well,
short term?
I'm very motivated to get the PE. So for me, this is a needed requirement for the PE. If I That's the goal. But
Right,
even now, I got I got a lot from it because I realized, oh, I still remember these things. I still
right.
am not obsolete. I still have that knowledge. So it gave me that confidence
Yeah,
on
that's
the fundamentals that I maybe I wasn't sure if I could still, pass this kind of exam because real work you work on some subjects and that
right.
you get really good at that, but the
Exactly.
rest of it you tend to forget. So
Yeah,
this gave me that validation that I still have the general knowledge uh, as an electrical engineer. So it gave me that boost of confidence, and now I'm gonna use it towards the P, which is my ultimate goal.
that's great. That's great. Advice would you have for somebody who has been out of school for as long as you have been out of school, 15 plus years, and they don't feel motivated, or they feel even intimidated by the FE exam? What would be your advice to help them take it on?
Uh, that's how I felt. I felt intimidated. I felt, afraid. I feel like going to fail. Right? Probably right after school I would have passed, but now there's no point, right? And then I have no time. That was my feeling. Probably a lot of my colleagues share it. Like, why bother? Is
Right.
I don't have the time. It's gonna be tough, and I will probably fail, and it's gonna be embarrassing, right? My advice is don't be afraid. Don't feel like that. It's easier now that even if you think you forgot everything, the knowledge is there. It's actually easier. No, you're not learning it for the first time. Even if it doesn't feel like it, it's easier. It comes back. It does come back. So just take the first steps, and then you'll see that okay, this is not so scary. And then use the tools like what you're providing, because if you go back to your old textbooks, that I mean, the information is probably in there somewhere, but it will take too long to extract, and it's
Right.
too difficult to go through the theory. Those books are huge. So no, my advice is, yeah, don't be afraid. You can do it. I did it,
Right.
and then use the tools that have been proven to help, like your books, the problem exams, and the online course, if you are able to, because it really does help. And the actual exam, I don't know if you're gonna ask me about this, but it actually felt easy. Even it felt
Okay.
easy. I was surprised. It's all of the questions, like I thought I had a chance. There were only a few that I thought, okay, I have no idea. I have to guess. But
Right.
very few. Most of them, I felt that I had a chance. Well, most of them I felt like, oh, I got it. And then there
Right.
were a few that I wasn't sure, but I thought, okay, this might be right, maybe not. And there are very few that I have no idea.
Yeah,
So I think
that's a great
my
place to be,
study worked. Yes.
because regardless of how much you study, I mean, there can always be a few handful of those questions which can be challenging. But if you know walking out of the exam that you've got most of them answered, right? Or you have most of them in the bag, then you know you've basically passed the exam. All right. Thanks a lot for your time, Alan. And I really appreciate you for taking time. And it's very impressive what you've achieved. Okay, with a full-time job, with a young family, and with multiple other demands on your time, and after being out of school for so long, so it's really impressive. And I wish you best of luck for your PE. And hopefully by the end of the year we will have you in the form of a PE licensed engineer.
Great.
Right.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your help. And then yeah,